Sorry about the lighting. I know I'm getting blasted with light. It looks like I'm luminescing, like I have porcelain white skin and that I'm beaming with the luminescent light from the next world. So don't worry about me. I'm not I'm not passing on. I'm not a saint. I don't have a halo projecting from me. Because you know the stories of some holy men dying in the luminescence. Actually, this would be a perfect opportunity for me to put on my shades, but can't find them quite yet. The flood wasn't global, and the Genesis account. When anybody talks about the creation account, whether they're, well, whatever type of fundamentalist they are, whether they're an atheist or a young Earth creationist, all you have to do is ask them which creation account, right? Because I don't know how many people I've heard say, well, I've read the entire Bible. Certain books are meant to have been read, I think, but it's more to be studied. The whole reason why the church is responsible for creating books like this instead of scrolls is so that we could flip back and forth. That's why, I mean, the oldest, that's why they created what we now know as the book, or it used to be known as the codice. But let me give you some examples. Like I always say, well, by my count, there's 5 creation stories. There's more, especially including if you include the books of the Bible that were not cut out by the Protestants. Just even the Roman Catholic canon. I mean, because there's stuff in the Book of Wisdom. There's known as Ecclesiasticus. People are going to say, well, Solomon didn't write that. It says that in the prologue that this is attributed to Solomon, out of respect. And also what gets called the Wisdom of Jesus, usually titled Sirach or Ben Sirach. It's written by Jesus Ben Sirach or Yehoshua Ben Sirach. But we have Genesis chapters 6, 7, 8, and 9, right? And there's usually 4 theories, and I got these 4 theories from Hugh Ross, so this part I'm kind of copying. The global flood, the Mesopotamian plain flooded, then a larger flood than the Mesopotamian, just the Mesopotamian plain, which would be Arabia, Mesopotamia, and the Persian Gulf, and then the last one would be the Black Sea overflow. But there's more than that. There's also the ice embankment in Canada that caused the raging flood that came across Europe and deluged the whole place and actually created the modern, turned the Black Sea, which was a lake at the time, into a sea, and the Mediterranean, which was a lake at the time, into a sea, causing, the Straits of Gibraltar to open up, not to mention crashing over and overflowing and filling what we now call the Persian Gulf, which is approximately where the Garden of Eden was originally at, right? Which is what that's number 5 that Jez mentioned. That's the one I buy into. If you were to talk about a global flood in ancient days, actually anywhere before the Seventh-day Adventists, prior to the Seventh-day Adventists, nobody would have cared. And there was debate: did it cover the whole world? What does the whole world mean? What does Kol Earths or cosmos mean? And we can know, right? Peter, 2 Peter, specifically, I mean, I would say 2nd and 3rd chapter of 2 Peter, but specifically chapter 2 verse 5 and chapter 3 verse 8. he talks about the entire world. And the word he uses there is cosmos. That can mean city, village, your house and yard, the country, the planet, or the universe. Just like if I said, well, the whole world has cell phones. Well, no. I mean, that's true in regular speak, but not every single human being owns a cell phone. But it's not incorrect to say the whole world has cell phones. I mean, North Korea doesn't have telephony as we understand it, or at least most of them don't. So maybe some of the rich people do there. And the flood gets talked about in other very important places too. Now, I'm sure you all know this, but scholars recognize Job as being the oldest book in the Bible, even older than the Pentateuch. Although I think that the stories in the Pentateuch are far older than. I mean, I think they reach back tens of thousands of years, or at least 10,000 years. No joke. But as a book, as a piece of writing, Job is the oldest. Job 38, chapters 38 and 39 go into the creation story. Psalm 33, Psalm 104, Proverbs 8. And then, of course, there's Genesis 1 through 3, 6 through 9, two different creation accounts, or one is cosmic, the other is anthropomorphic. Ecclesiastes 1 through 3, Jeremiah chapter 33, Romans 8. As I said, 2 Peter chapters 2 through 3, but specifically verse 5 of chapter 2 and verse 8 of chapter 3, and the Apocalypse chapter 20 to 22. Which is kind of an inversion of the thing. But if you look at Genesis 41, 56 to 57, Kings 4, 1 Kings 4, 34, and 1 Kings 10, 24. Also, 1 Kings 4:31, which matches 2 Chronicles 9, and then you have Acts 2 verse 5, Romans 1 verse 8, Colossians 1 verse 6. And this will tell you about the whole world, right? And the other parts that I talk about give the range of where the flood hit, what it hit and what it didn't hit. And we actually have the depth of the flood too. So just to give you some examples, right? Romans chapter 1 verse 8. First I thank my God through Jesus Christ for all of you, because your faith is being proclaimed throughout the whole world. What did he mean by that? Did he mean that it was being proclaimed to the people of Patagonia and of modern-day Togo and Nigeria, as well as the Aleutic, the Aleuts of Alaska? No, he meant the Roman Empire, and possibly into the Sasanian or Persian Empire as well. That's the whole world. He didn't include Sweden in that or anything like that. And that word cosmos, that I believe that's the word there. If anybody challenge me on that, blueletterbible.com. Colossians 1:6. Which has come to you just as in all the world also it is constantly bearing fruit, increasing, even it has been doing, and also since the days you heard of it and understood the grace of God. And you kind of have to read before it, to get the context. He's talking about, you previously heard in the word of truth, the gospel, which has come to you, just as the world also. Does that mean the world meaning planet? No. Paul, when he's writing these things, he says it's gone to the whole. I mean, in chapter 8, or in verse 8, the first chapter of Romans, he says, proclaim because your faith is being proclaimed throughout the world. Well, Paul was intending on going to Spain, right? I mean, that was his intent, to go to Spain. Did he make it there? But yes, no, we don't know. But we know that when he's writing about the faith of the Romans, and to the Romans, and talking about that their faith is known all to the whole world, he hadn't yet gone to Spain. So, much less like a place like Ireland. So when people try to say, "Oh, Cole Earths, the whole world," or cosmos is used here. Even in English, you can see the way they're speaking. The hyper-literalist or hyper-letterist view does not work. It's not how people talk now. It's not how people talked back then. And it destroys this. Well, there must have been a planetary flood. And there's some people that argue that there weren't even humans all over the planet at this time, of the time of the flood of Noah. Because we don't really get years, we get generations, and the who begat who and their sons. Some of the times these are actually tribes of people that they're talking about. Not even just clans, but actual tribes that had sprouted from these original people. And from these peoples, later on, these clans came these other groups of people. So it gets addressed as a singular, almost like talking about, Uncle Sam was born from, the Lion of England. Well, England's symbol is a lion, and Uncle Sam isn't a real person. So it's kind of like that. Or Uncle Sam fought Charlie in Indochina. Well, Charlie was a name for the communist Vietnamese. Uncle Sam was a name for the American Armed Forces. So, everybody understood it, but, give it 4,000 years, translate it through few languages, and people are going to think that there was actually a boxing match or an MMA fight in, Cambodia, South Vietnam, North Vietnam, and Laos, where these two guys, Uncle Sam and Charlie, fought. I mean, ludicrous. But yeah, those are just some passages to cajole the people who believe that the entire world was submerged in water, which it was at one time, but that was during creation. All right, peace to you.